Okay, and welcome to the next lesson in the Space Chase series of games. Now, in the first few lessons, we started to create a game. We started planning out our game using an assignment which was placed in your teams area. And then we started making the game, which we looked at part 1, where we got the basic structure of the game, then part 2, where we looked at developing features. And some of you then looked at an extension task by trying to develop your game even further. Now, what I've done is I've planned out the next few lessons for you. Now, this does depend on how long our little lockdown lasts for. If the lockdown does go on for a little bit longer, then there's a series of lessons here which are set up and ready set to go for us. So the first part is what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at creating a banner. So I'm going to take you through the development of a banner, which is going to be quite nice and quite straightforward. You're then going to save the banner and upload it to your team area. And what we're also going to do is you are going to create a logo, then the lesson after, and then all of that is going to be placed within a website. Now we're going to go through and we're going to use something called J2E or J2Bloggy, which is a WordPress derivative. And we're going to actually make a proper little online website with you. Now, with that in mind, we start the website by developing a structure, or what we call a master page or a master template, and then essentially from there on we then start to develop. So on lesson 7, look, as an example, you can see we've got instructions for the game. So one of the pages on the website is going to list instructions for one of your games. Now, I've said one of your games. The reason being, you can probably see there, lesson 8 there, game development, game 2. So if this lockdown does go on a little bit, the next thing that we are going to look at is building a platform style game. So at the moment, you were building a sort of space shoot 'em up type game. This platform game is going to be a little bit different. So I'm trying to get a few different things in here, a few different skills, but obviously you're going to be using a similar software. Therefore, you'll have a little bit of knowledge. Okay, so that's going to give you just a quick overview of what we're going to be doing over the next few lessons. So back to banner design. What do I need you to do? Well, the first thing you'll need to do is you'll need to click on this link here, which is going to take you to Hub, because we are going to be using a piece of software called Adobe Spark. Now, Adobe Spark is a lovely piece of software, and when you log into Hub, what you'll notice is a icon which says Adobe Spark. Now when you click on Adobe Spark, it's going to open up an online application, and this can take a few moments, especially if the service is busy, so just leave it load in the background, and then what you'll see is it's obviously built something here, and you can see any previous posts that you've made will be here as well. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do now is pause the video. I'd like you to click on the Hub link. I'd like you then, once you've logged into Hub, click on the Adobe Spark. And then once you've got to this stage, we can then resume the video again. So pause the video now and get Spark ready for me, please. Adobe Spark application open. Before we actually start building, I want to just show you through one or two of the websites that I've put together here for you. Now, the idea with this first and second lesson is that you are going to be building a banner, and the banner will sit on the top page of your website. And this is a custom theme now that a standard theme that I've used. I will show you other themes, because with the themes you can change the look and the style of the site. So you can see this banner here it'll stretch right across the top, and it's obviously then fitted in here, and you can see my logo then is just sort of in a text box here on the main first part. So that's ideally what you're going to be doing. You're going to be creating a banner first, and then in the next lesson after this you are going to be creating a little logo for your design. Now, depending on what you do, you might want to create 2 banners, because you can have different banners on different sections should you wish to. So this is one example of a site that I've made. Okay, so back to Adobe Spark. Now then, the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to set up what's called a canvas. We're going to set up a graphic for us to use. So the first thing I'm going to click on is this little plus in the top left hand corner. And when you click on this little plus, you'll see there's a drop down menu which has appeared. And we're then going to click on the option there, look, custom size graphic. Now when I clicked on custom size graphic, what's going to happen is the page is going to reload and it's going to say, right, okay, what size do you want? And this is quite important. You need to put the size in here. Now I'm just going to zoom this in a little bit for you so you can see it. So we are going to make our width 1400 pixels and we are going to make our height 200 pixels. So you need to make sure the width is 1400 and the height is 200. Once you've done that, click next, and then you will wait for it to build. So before you go any further now, can you please click on the blue plus icon at the top, then click on custom size, put 1400 by 200 in, and then get to this stage. Pause the video now and make the first part of the banner, please. Before we start building our banner, the first thing we're going to need to do is save the banner. So on the top left hand corner, you can see it's got my post. If I click in this, and then we are going to type in Space Chase banner. As you can see, I've already done this once before, so I'm just going to type in Space Chase banner and press enter. And then what this does is it saves the banner. So anything now that we do is saved in our cloud, which is good. On the left hand side, you can see we have a templates option. I'm going to close these straight away because we're not going to use any of the pre-made templates. We're going to build our own banner from scratch. Now, just to give you a quick run through with some of these tools and familiarize yourselves with some of these tools, because you might not have used this software before. On the left hand side here, we've got text, which obviously allows us to add some text in. We've got a photos button, which will allow us to add obviously photos. Icons and digital assets are very similar. So icons are obviously little icons that you might want to add, but digital assets are more, they are a little bit like icons, but we'll use them later. You'll see they're more sort of cartoon style images. And then we've got backgrounds. We're not going to be using logos and libraries in this first session. Then on the other side then you've got colors, which is useful if you want to change the text color of things. Animation we're not going to use. You can use this software to animate certain things, but we're not going to use it at this moment in time. Resize will change our canvas for us, but we're not going to need that. Background is going to be something we are going to be using in a moment. And design ideas, this is really useful when you're struggling to get ideas for text. Okay, so that's a really quick intro to some of the tools. As I go through this first tutorial, I will take you through it step by step. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add in a background here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the backgrounds icon, which is on the left hand side, and you'll probably see it's got a load of icons, a lot of images for me. Now some of these work and some of them for some reason don't work. So if you click on something and it doesn't do anything, don't panic, just choose something else. Now as I go through this, I'm looking through at my designs here. These will change depending on what other people are doing. So these are just some sort of ideas that others are most popular rather than others are looking at now at the moment. On the top here, we've got a search option. So if I wanted to search for space as an example, I could look for space and then it'll show me everything to do with space. Now don't forget, with our banner, it's quite sort of long and narrow. So whatever image you choose, it's only going to show a small proportion of that, which is fine. Now you might not want to do a space type image, which is absolutely fine. You can choose whatever you want. So let's say, for example, you wanted to search for something blue. If I search for blue, you can see there's lots of different ideas there for different things. Quite why lots of Christmas things have come up, I'll never know, but there you are. There's some other things there which will help you. So you can put whatever banner you want in. I'm going to look for space, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose one of these images now just to show you what happens when I put it in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my image and it's going to load, and then hopefully it's going to be placed in the background. If it doesn't, then that image might not be compatible with what we're doing. So that's fine, choose another one. let's say for example you add this in and it'll probably do what mine has done, where it shrinks it down. What we are going to need to do is make sure this is stretched out. Now the quickest and easiest way to do that is click on this here, add to background, and what it does then is it stretches everything out for you. Now let's say for example you put this in and you think, oh actually I don't like this banner. Fine, click on the delete button which is on the top there, or press the delete button on your keyboard and it'll return and get rid of it. Now don't worry if it puts a colour in as the background, it's fine. The colours from here, don't panic, that's absolutely fine at all. So to add in a background, you can just look in the backgrounds, you can either search or you can find a background you like, click on it, and then the easiest thing you can do is place it then as a background like so. Just before I leave you go, on the side there are filters and enhancements and blurs. You might not use these at this moment in time, but it's useful for me to show you. The filters, when ticked, will allow you to put different filters over this image. Now if I just get rid of my background pane for a moment here so you can see this a little bit bigger. If I click on these, you can see as I go through there's different styles that it will apply. And as you can see when I click on it, different colours may appear. In the middle of the options here, if you click on this, it'll cycle through a range of colours for you. And likewise, it'll go through a range of different contrasts for you should you need to. Now you might think, actually, I don't want to change my image at all. I don't want to use filters. That's fine. You can try them, but you can also, if I untick this, it takes it off for you. The enhancements probably aren't going to do a lot for you at the moment, but you can change the contrast for them if you need to, and the brightness, but you probably won't need to do anything like that at the moment. The only other thing you might be interested in is the blur. Now what the blur will allow you to do, if we put a small amount of blur on, it blurs the background so that if we have text on there, it'll make it easier to read. Now I'll show you that later when we add some text on, because it'll probably make a bit more sense. So what I'm going to ask you to do in a moment is pause the video, and I'm going to ask you to search and place a background in on your banner. To do that, click on the background, search for a background, click, and once you've found your background you want, make sure you add it. You use this toggle switch here to set it as your background, and if you wanted to put any filters on, you're more than welcome. Pause the video now and please add a background into your design. We're going to look at adding some text into the banner. So to do this, I'm just going to close this background for a moment, and I'm going to click on the X on the other side just to close that, and we're going to click on the text option here. Now by default it's going to show you a number of different text styles, and you can see these are all editable, but you probably aren't going to need to use them unless you see something that you think, oh, actually yeah, I can make that one work on my design. So I'm not going to use any of these. I'm going to manually place some text in here, but I'm going to show you how to basically make it look pretty cool. So what we're going to do is click on the add your text here, and it's going to then ask you what you want to do, put some text in. Now at this point you are going to probably need to think of a good name for your website. Please don't all use Space Chase. Have a think. You've got great imaginations. Try to think of a good name for your website for your space games. If you need to pause the video here, obviously to think, you are more than welcome to. But I'm going to go and I'm going to enter my name in now at the moment. So the name I'm going to go with is Space Games for this. It's quite boring, but you know, it is as it is. And you can see at the bottom there it says return. To add a new line, press shift and return. So if I wanted to put this on another line, I can, but I'm not going to. Okay, so what I've done is I pressed the OK, and it's just added this Space Games in here, which isn't great because I can't read it that well. Now this is where I can blur the background. So if you remember earlier when I said about blurring the background, if I now click on the background and click on blur and then add in a blur, you can see now this Space Games is a little bit easier to read. I don't need that much blur, probably 1 or 2 will do, but you can see that's now a little bit clearer. But the font isn't that great. So I'm just going to get rid of this for a moment, and I'm going to click back now on my fonts. Now, if you remember earlier I said about this magic sign here, I'll come back to that in a moment, but if you wanted to manually set the colors or anything like that with your text, you can click on the top here where I got text color, and you can see I've got this color option here. Now this will set the tone or shade of color, and this slider at the bottom will set the type of color. So let's say, for example, if I wanted a blue and I wanted it to go very light, I can. Now there is a more option here, so if you did click on the more, you can use any of the predefined colors which are here as well. Now you can also set the font style. On the drop down menu here, you can see you've got Futura, which is currently set, and I can go through, there's lots of different fonts which are already included. So the good thing with all of these, they all work in the cloud, and it doesn't matter what your what computer you're using, whether you're using a Chromebook or a Mac or a PC, whatever, it doesn't matter. All of these will work, doesn't matter what you've got. So if I want to get something a little bit bolder, I can click on that, and you can see now that is a little bit bolder. You've got a size on the side here, so if I just move that, the size option there will allow me to create a different size. Or if I wanted to get something in custom, all I do is I click in it and then I type and then press enter. What that does then is it'll put that in directly for me. Now we're probably not going to use this align left center, right? Because I can move the text around quite freely. This is really only useful should I wish to, if I've got like a lot of text in a text box. You have got this here, which is the curved lines, and we'll be using that when we do when we create our space logo. So I'm not going to go through this one with you at the moment. Now the other thing that you've got here is this see-through type opaque coloring. So if I reduce that down to nothing, you can see it's come out there as a form of shadow of itself. So you can change the opacity or how see-through this is. You can also change it to a specific shape should you wish to by adding that shape in, and then you can add in a background to make this a little bit readable, but I'll go through that with you in a moment. And you've got shadows and outlines which you can have a play around with. So let's look at this new style here. Now if I click on this new style, what it's going to do is it'll cycle through different fonts and styles, and it'll give me design ideas. Now all of these are still editable. So let's say, for example, if when we click on this one, you think I like that font but I don't like the background color, that's fine. You can click on this shape color here and you can change it. Likewise, you can keep on going through these new styles until you find something that you really like, and then you can add in your own design. Let's say, for example, you wanted to go back to a previous design, then there's an undo button on the top which will allow you then to go back to whatever it is you want. If you're unsure, click on the X, and then you can still move this around, or you can move it up or down to see how that will suit on your design. One last thing just to mention, you'll see as I'm moving this around, I have these grid lines coming up, the purple lines. These are center markers, and they will show you where your text or image is most central within your design. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is this. I'd like you to add in some text. Think of a good name for your website. It can be anything you want. Just make sure you put the name in and customize it to make it fit your brand. Now, when you unpause this video, you are going to see my text change, because I am going to change it now from these colors. So please pause the video here now and add some text in, please. For the next part of this tutorial, we are going to look at the icons and digital assets. So I'm going to just go through a few different things with you. You can add what you like in with these. It doesn't really matter to me as long as you are adding something in. So I'm going to click on the icons and then we can search. Now by default this will change, so you can see it's search for love at the moment here. So let's say, for example, I wanted to change this. All I do is I click on it and then let's search for something else. So I'm going to look for space. And as you can see, it's come up with a number of different ideas. Now, before we add anything in, I'm going to show you the difference between that and the digital assets, so you get a quick idea and you can get a rough idea of what the difference is. So you can see these icons are mainly black and white, but we can change these colors. It's fine, don't panic with it. But if I click on digital assets and I'm going to search for space again, you can see now these are slightly different. Now you'll get a lot less icons or imagery in the digital assets than you will with the icons. But if I were to click on one of these, and then hopefully it's put that in, you can see us whirring around and thinking about it. So if I just move this now to the side, you can see it's added that in on the left hand side. It's actually added two of them because I clicked it twice. So it's probably a good idea for me to show you how to delete, but you can see there I've got a delete button here as well. Now let's say for example if you wanted two of these, then you can duplicate it by clicking that button there, which will allow you then to duplicate. And let's say for example if you wanted to mirror it or rotate it, well, you've got a rotation option on the bottom which will allow you then to flip or rotate it, and you can then move it over the other side should you wish to. I'm just going to remove that for a moment, and I'm going to move that one back over there. Now, let's say, for example, if you wanted to add in something else. So let's click on this for a moment and see what we can do with it. So on the side here, you've still got your filters, and you've still got your enhancements if you needed to, and you've still got the option to blur things if you really wanted to, right? But you probably won't need or want to blur these at the moment. If I click back on the icons and we're still on space here, you might say, well, actually, I like that type of icon there. I want that into my background. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to click on that. And once I've done that, I'm going to click on the close there. And you can see it's just added that in here. Now, you might not want it predominantly on the front. You might want to send this backwards a little bit. And that's fine. To do that, what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to change the color. So if I click on the color options here, and I'm going to go with a yellow. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it backwards. So you can see on the side here, you've got layer order. If I click on the layer and then move down again, you can see now this has gone behind my text. So that there works in exactly the same way as Photoshop works with your layers. Now again, if you don't like it, click on it, and then click on the delete button, and it'll remove it for you should you need to. One last thing with the icons before I allow you to go and put some things in. With the icons, there are thousands of things to choose from. So you can see there I've searched quickly for space. If I search for rocket as an example, there's going to be lots of different things there for you as well. So when you click in them and then close, you can then place it or position it to whatever it is you want, and you can move it around, make it bigger or smaller using the drag handles which are on the top and bottom of your design. And again, just by clicking on the color, you can choose and change the color to pretty much anything you want. So the next thing I'm going to need you to do is I'd like you to add in either or an icon and or a digital asset. It is completely your choice. You might want to spend a little bit of time looking through them to find something that you can actually use. Once you've created your banner, you are going to be ready then to download it and save it for the website. Now there's a few things that we are going to have to go through, and there's a few places that you're going to need to save it. Now once you are done, what you'll need to do is click on this download button which is in the top corner. Now when you click on this download button, you'll have an option to save as either a PNG or JPEG. It doesn't matter which one of these you choose. Probably the JPEG is going to be a smaller file size than the PNG. So I'm going to leave mine on PNG for now, and I'm going to click on Start Download. The computer might momentarily freeze, but what should happen is a download should appear. Now you can see mine has come to the bottom here. You'll need to look on your own computers to find out where this is actually saved to. Now if I open the downloads folder of my computer, I can see that in the downloads folder I have now a Space Chase banner, and if I just open that very quickly, you can see my banner is here. Now all of your computers are going to be ever so slightly different, so you are going to need to know where this is downloaded to. I'm going to then require you to upload it to your team for safekeeping. Now some of you will be able just to keep it on your computers, but I'll also like to see it as well. So what you can do is on your team you will have an option here that says add work, and then when you click on add work, it'll ask you where do you want to get the work from. So you can click on upload from this device. You can find your downloads folder, and then you can basically move it in here by clicking open. It'll then upload, and then click done, and that will add your banner to this assignment. Now you're going to do the same thing next week with your logos, where you're going to add your logo in as well. So just to recap really quickly, once you are happy and you've finished with your banner, what I'm going to ask you to do is click on the download button. You can either select PNG or JPEG, click on start download. Once you've done that, find where it's downloaded to, so hopefully it's gone into your downloads folder. Once you have downloaded it and you know you've got it, open your assignment on Teams, make sure you're in the Space Chase one, and then add work and upload it here for me, please. If you've got any questions, please use the chat facility on your teacher's team to speak to them and ask them for advice. Okay, so that pretty much concludes this lesson part here. Once you have downloaded your work, can you please make sure you have saved it somewhere on your computer, as you are going to need it in a few lessons time. I would like it if you could also upload it to your team so that I have access to it, so I can also see it as well. If you have finished early and you have time, you are more than welcome to create another banner using the same type of tools and techniques, but you can create it in a completely different style entirely. It's your choice.